You're listening to Prosperity Report, Love and Money Podcast, the relationship podcast that helps you feel more confident financially and romantically. We do this by giving you actionable ideas to help you stop comparing and start repairing your mindset, your money, your relationship, and your life. I'm your host, Kanae Corder, best-selling author, international speaker, hypnotherapist, and financial therapist. Let's grow with the flow together. Enjoy the show. This episode is brought to you by my free Money Mentality course. Learn your money personality and how you can reach your full financial potential. Have you ever heard messages like, money doesn't grow on trees, we can't afford it, or money can't buy happiness? Neither can poverty, but there's no quote about that, right? Society has imprinted messages in your brain, and they're affecting you and how you handle money. Maybe you're a spender, maybe you're a saver, or maybe you're a hero, saving all the people around you with your money. You can find out by taking the free Money Mentality course. This free course will help you determine how to stop the negative behavior you have with money, how to continue doing the positive things that are working for you, and how to start doing new things, new behavior that will help you reach your full potential. You'll gain clarity, connection, and a community of achievers just like you. Thousands of people have already taken this course. Join us so you can learn your money mentality. It will be the easiest, most informative course you have ever taken. It's free, so the only investment is an investment of your time, which I know how valuable your time is. So I've made the course impactful, full of value, so you can get back more than you put in. And there's a free gift at the end. So go, check it out, and start reaching your full potential today. Go to KanaeQuarter.com/money-course. It's a small investment to make a big impact on your life. Again, that's KanaeQuarter.com/money-course. Take the Money Mentality course, gain clarity, connection, and a community. Go to KanaeQuarter.com/money-course. I'll see you there. I'm about to have a conversation with dating coach and CEO of Dating with Dignity, Marni Battista. We're going to talk about having the mindset of attraction. Marni is the queen of making her clients irresistible to men, and not just any men, high quality men. Marni is a certified professional dating and relationship coach, expert, writer, and nationally recognized. She's been on CBS, ABC, and Loveline, filling in for Dr. Drew. Marni's been in print and online magazines like Huffington Post, YourTango.com, and the Ultimate Girl Guides, Cosmopolitan, and Glamour, but also in men's fitness. She is my podcast BFF. She is the host of The Dating Den, which has over 2.6 million views, and she was named one of the top 10 best women's dating experts. So my Prosperos, get ready to have some fun. Welcome my beautiful guest, Marni Battista. Hey, Marni.
Hey there. Thanks for that very generous introduction.
You're welcome. All true, all true. So I'm excited for us to get together. We got together a few months ago, last year, I should say, on your podcast. We had a great conversation, and I want to have another one of those great conversations, this time talking about attraction.
I love that conversation. And what's funny is, I think that, relationships are a mirror for literally everything we do in our life, right? And so the way that I found you was I was listening to a podcast and I was totally attracted to your energy, right?
Yay.
Like to your vibe, to your soul, like it was coming through, right? And that is really the beauty when you are connected to your authenticity and your mojo, right? Like you are literally irresistible in all areas of your life. So, I mean, you've got the attraction thing down.
Oh, thank you. I like to think so.
Yeah.
So before we go into attraction, I ask every guest a question, and that is, what is your idea of prosperity? Or
Mm.
what does the word prosperity mean to you?
So I was married for 17 years. I got divorced when I was 38. I got married when I was 22. Like basically my dad took care of me and then my husband took care of me.
Mm,
And he made shitloads of money. Like this was back when there was like magazine, like the TV Guide. And he'd be like, so your responsibility is to write out the check for TV Guide. Literally like that. He thought I was incapable, right? And so here I was like 38. I had 3 kids. I hadn't worked for like 15 years. And I literally was like, I didn't even know what prosperity meant other than somebody else creating a lifestyle for me.
mm,
And when I realized my money mindset was completely out of whack, I was like, crap, I need some work on this. And I really started to understand, what does prosperity mean? And for me, it means abundance, and not only receiving abundance, but thriving in it.
mm,
Right. Being at one in prosperity to me is being in flow with the energy of abundance. And when I sort of figured out that it's not a stagnant thing, it's a creative thing, it's an energy thing, I was like, wow, like prosperity is a way of being.
hmm. Yeah, that is so true. And I love that because we're always talking about doing, doing, doing. But you just made a great point. It's all about being. And if you could just be prosperous, you don't have to work at it. It's not work, it's just what you do.
Totally. And I think that being in that flow with ourselves, like, so whether it's being authentic, like listening to you being interviewed on a podcast and want to know you more, right? Or being in your relationship, right? And want to have prosperity in your intimacy. It's about being most authentic, being vulnerable, being open. When you're in your whatever you do to create revenue in your life, right?
Hmm,
It's
hmm.
about really living and being your most authentic self in connection with the gifts that you have. And so imagine like all of those little color waves, in your life, and they're like all the brightest you can be. That is totally a
Mm.
being. That's a being.
Yes. Yeah, that is so true. So it sounds like attraction is all about being yourself, determining what that is first, right? So how do you be yourself?
Well, for what's really amazing is, especially for women today, you know, who we are gets masked around a lot of crap, right?
Mm,
From what happens in our lives. And, I have 3 daughters. God was like, okay, you get to master this. And what I really realized in raising daughters, now they're 23, 20, and 16, and it hasn't changed. As women, we have these really big emotions. We get labeled like being too sensitive.
mhm.
Even think back to like middle school and you like the boy, and like, I had this kid, Tom McDonald, and I was like in 8th grade. I'll never forget it. It was a dance party thing. And he was my big crush, and he came over to me and he was like, do you want to dance? And I was like, sure. I mean, I'm like, oh, be still my heart. I stood up and just kidding. I wanted your chair.
Oh,
Right? And I
wow.
was like, oh my God, like, I mean, it was devastating, right? And so it was like those emotions were big. And here I am at this 8th grade party. I mean, I'm just going to hold my shit together and pretend like I don't care. And he's an asshole.
Mhm.
And right, like we learn that as women, as young girls, and then it gets reinforced, right? Like emotions are a pain in the ass. Oh, by the way, and if you're productive and you achieve, you get a lot of points for that.
Mhm, mhm.
Right.
Yep.
So we lose who we are because we are trying to be a chameleon to get approval and love and feel safe. And so when women come to work with me, whether they're single or they're single and then they end up in a relationship, the way that they create that attraction is they have to pull back all the stories and all the masks and all the layers and look at like, who am I really? And one
Mhm.
great way to do that as a beginning point is look at the roles you play in your life. Make a list, and whether it's mother, boss, manager, daughter, friend, and look at like, which of these roles do I really shine?
Mm.
And which of these roles do I hide a little bit?
Mm.
And when you look at like the ones that you shine, really start to be curious about like, what is it about that role that allows me to shine and really be myself? And then play the game of like, well, what would it look like if I turned up the dial in those roles where I hide and practice bringing more of
Mm.
my authenticity? And that's how you kind of start to understand like, who am I?
Yes, that is so cool because I think that sometimes we have so many, there's a long list, right? We're daughters, we're mothers, we're sisters, we're friends, girlfriends, whatever those titles are. And then we have our work titles. Because even when I think about myself, at work, I have to play the CEO, which I'm working on right now, getting better at. But I also am a therapist and, counselor and a coach. So I have to play that role. And then still in this same business, I do meditation. So I am a meditation teacher, which is totally different from the CEO girl. And then aside from all of that, I have to now go home and be girlfriend and cook and cuddle and, that stuff. And all these different hats. And I do a planning episode. In my planning episode, I joke that when I put on my glasses, I'm like in CEO mode. And
Right?
so it's like you almost have to have like a costume for each mode so you know which mode you're in. But I like how you said, look at the roles, see how you are playing in them, where you're most yourself, and then also where you're hiding. Where do you shine? Because I do shine as the CEO and I don't shine as the girl on social media. That's not where I shine, but I gotta do it because it's part of my business. But it's like, that's not where I shine. I shine when I'm closing deals and, just making it happen. That's where I shine. But then where I really shine is at a girlfriend. Like I am, and I'm self-proclaimed, but I am the best girlfriend slash wife, whatever, like ever. Like I am so good at it. And I don't even know how I did it. I don't even know how I did it because I didn't even want to be in a relationship. Most of my life, I did not want to be in a relationship. And then later in life, I decided I did. And it's because my daughter got married and I was like, wow, she's coming to me for advice. I can't really answer this. And this was before I even started working with couples. And so I was like, man, in order to give my daughter a shot at marriage happiness, I want to explore this more myself, what it would look like for me to be a wife. Because before I was good with being a girlfriend. And when I was good at being a girlfriend, I felt like I was attracting people who only wanted to be boyfriends.
Well, totally. Here's what's really cool about what you just said is in order to get into that like flow of like, what is it like to be a partner, to be a wife? It's almost like you leveraged your CEO authenticity where you feel really good in that role, which is like make shit happen,
Mm-hmm.
right? Be really curious,
Yep.
right? Like get
Yep.
it done. And so what I love about what you just shared is like you did that organically. But just from what you've shared with me, it's like, oh, I shine in this role because I'm doing deals. I'm making it happen. I'm being intentional. I'm like, and you're like, oh, so that's who I am in my authenticity. So what does it look like when I show up with that certainty and that confidence?
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then your why is your daughter, right? Which is like connection, which is like why you're an amazing coach, therapist, teacher. So
Yeah.
really, what you did, Kay, is you just like actually took all of those things that you shine and you were like, that's me. And then you put it forth out into this other part of your life. And that's why it happened. It felt effortless because it was just you.
Yeah. Never thought about it that way. Thanks for putting that together.
Yeah.
That's so
It's like,
awesome. Because when women come and talk to you, they're probably coming confused as to who they are, but who they are is already in there.
totally. It's there. It's there. It's like sometimes it gets suppressed. Life happens and we make up stories, and those little neural pathways get
Mhm.
created. And, one thing that I say, especially for women who are, achievers, I call it when we're in partnership, when we're irresistible, I call it your sexy alpha femme. You know what? Like, look, we are badasses and we do have that masculine alpha energy and we do get shit done. And
Yep.
like, you know what? It's not like you have to give that up. But also the other part of you is this sexy, the feminine part, the woman part, right? Like I was talking to a guy on my podcast the other day and we were talking about like gender roles and it's so confusing right now and men
Ooh.
don't, and I was like, in the end, I have a vagina, you have a penis. Like There is biology that comes with that, right? And like,
Yeah.
it is very fluid today, but like each person gets to say like, who am I, right? If
Mm-hmm.
I'm owning my vagina and I'm loving it and I'm feeling like that's what I want, like, what does that actually mean? What's all of it? Because yes, we have masculine, but there's some stuff like emotion and nurture and care and vulnerability that's in there. And so freaking go dig it out.
Yeah. And you're going into a area that I love to talk about, and that is this masculine feminine energy, mainly because I think we get confused when we hear masculine and feminine, and we think male and female. And you can be in your feminine energy and be a man and be nurturing. It's just we're labeling it feminine because of the nurture part of it, and maybe we're naming it masculine because of that like builder gatherer part of it. And so what does it mean? But I hear a lot of people getting confused. So maybe you and I can have a conversation around this masculine and feminine, and we might have different opinions about it, but let's have this conversation and see what we can help the audience uncover about masculine and feminine energy.
I love that. I mean, here's the thing that's really interesting is, you know, most women say they want their man to be like a strong man, like a high quality man. You were talking about that in the intro. And like, so what does that mean today? Right? Because men don't go out mostly and kill food for us. Men don't necessarily make more money than us.
No, we fight against that.
Yeah, you know, we can be on top. I mean, right? So it's like, so here's the thing, like, so I think it's like, what does masculine mean to you? And I see women get really stuck here in their relationships or when they're dating, because it's like they have this old picture of what like a masculine guy is, right, for attraction. And so when you say like, well, shit, I mean, he's not going to kill your food. You might make more money than him. You actually want him to have access to his feelings and share them.
Yep.
Okay, so he's not going to, and then they're like, oh gosh, so what do I really need in a partner? What does masculine look like for me? And I think today that can mean so many things. And I know in my relationship, and one of the things that I appreciate, my clients do too, is a man has that energy to hold you in your space of vulnerability. And also when you, and I think you and I talked about this maybe when we spoke, when you are like doing your little thing, being bossy and trying to like pull shit, a masculine guy is going to be like, hey babe, that's not okay.
That's so true.
Right? You know what? Like my husband and I got into this thing last night and he was like, you know, I'm sorry. And I'm doing the best I can. So you're either going to like, what are we going to do about it?
Yes.
Right? Like to me, that's totally masculine. It's like, I love you and I got you. And like, I'm not going to do this back and forth thing.
Yeah, that is so funny. I always tell this story sometimes that I was in a relationship and we had this one argument, and he's a totally masculine guy and very in his masculine energy, so much that I don't know that I ever had to be in my masculine around him. I was like almost always in my feminine. One thing that I do is I'm a know-it-all because I know a little bit about a lot of different things. So
Totally.
he knows this about me. So once I was telling him about something and he was like, you don't know everything, Kanae. And I was like, so? He was like, well, why do you act like you do? And I was like, I don't know. He was like, well, figure it out.
And then you're like, busted. I think for a strong woman, like an independent, like modern, badass chick, masculine guy is the guy that can hold that space. Right. Yeah. So I think it's like, and it's different for every single person, right? Like, what does it mean? Because also the research shows that for men, often when they're sharing their feelings and being vulnerable and weak, like showing their fear, women are like, I don't want to hear it, blah, 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 you know, right? Like, and so men get so confused. They're like, well, you want me to talk about my feelings, then you don't like it when I talk about my feelings.
Yeah, exactly.
Poor men.
And as I know, I'm so like the man advocate. Like I've actually in my practice, I see more men than I do women.
That's amazing.
It is. And part of the reason is because somehow, I don't know how it happened, but I became the anger therapist. So a lot of men come to me for what they call anger management. I don't call it that. And when they get there, I tell them, first time we see each other, first of all, there's nothing wrong with you. Second of all, there's nothing wrong with anger. Sometimes you're going to feel anger. Third, anger is a secondary emotion. What was the primary emotion? What did you actually feel that you don't have permission to feel? So you defaulted to anger because that's all society gives you permission to feel. And
That's
then you're like, oh, because that's what we've done to our men. We only given them permission to be angry. That's it. Other than that, you're not masculine.
totally, like they can't be sad and they definitely can't be scared.
Oh my gosh, no.
It's just so powerful. And so when you look at like who you want to be with, and if you're in a relationship, how do you want to allow your guy to step up and be there for you? And this is where the feminine piece is to create space for him to take the lead. For you to say, like, that was so beautiful in that story you told where you're like, he's like, you don't know everything. And you're like, I know. Right? Like, that's that vulnerability as opposed to like, so what a lot of people would do, they'd be like, why are you telling me that? Like, that's so obnoxious. Like, you know, like totally I sideswipe it. And that's beauty. That's masculine and feminine. You're like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Exactly. Right. And we can laugh about it because afterwards, I mean, you know, at the end of the argument, we just laughed about it because when you are in your feminine, a man is in his masculine. Because if both of you are in your feminine, that's going to be some conflict. And if both of you are in your masculine, that's going to be some conflict. And that is not attractive. That's not attractive if you're in a relationship or if you're working to be in a relationship. And we really have to work on that. I say women, we have to work on that because we're probably the ones that are going to be able to work through it easier than men will because of our feminine energy. What would you say?
I totally agree. I mean, look, I talk to women all the time. I just talked to someone last week who's super, super successful. She's in a male-dominated industry, financial advisor. And, you know, she's saying, like, I don't understand. I'm like super attractive. They all tell me how hot and attractive they are. And they are. And that nobody pursues them and that they don't get dates. And I'm like thinking to myself, and ultimately we had the conversation. I was like, men don't want to date a dude in a skirt. This girl is like, bam, bam, bam. Like, you know, and one of the things that I think we do when we're really in our masculine is we get so focused on the destination that we forget to understand that what you said is like, what does it look like if I don't know it all?
Right.
Right? Yes. Like, oh my God, I feel scared. I feel out of control. I don't like it. I'll just go back to knowing it all.
Yeah.
The world is like online dating sucks. There's no good men. Men are assholes. You know, like they don't pursue. What's wrong with them? And that gives you that illusion of being in control. And it's just like men underneath like the anger, right? It's like, what's really going on? You're scared, girl. And you don't like being out of control. So you're going to overcompensate and be a bulldozer. And I will promise you, like, if you're listening, you're like, maybe that's me. That's why nobody's pursuing you, because men can smell that like 10 feet away. And a quality man, and I just interviewed this guy yesterday, and he was like, a quality guy, he doesn't want to fight to break through your wall. That only happens on reality shows.
That's a great point. Yeah. And it's so funny because a lot of times you'll hear a woman will say, and this comes in relationships too, like say the man cheated and the woman, people were saying, well, that woman wasn't even as pretty as his wife. And why would he cheat with that woman? Well, probably because that woman was vulnerable and opened herself up. And the wife is maybe put up some walls or guards and he doesn't feel manly around her. So he goes to where he feels like a king. And that's what happens. Now, just in case people are listening, say, are you giving men excuses for cheating? No, I'm not doing that. I'm explaining how it happens and what they're looking for.
Well, totally. And so, yeah, I mean, that's like a whole other conversation. Like in this episode, I love when I interview men about just being men dating, but he was like, in the evolution of a quality guy, there comes this time where they're like, I've seen enough boobs. You know what I mean? It's like at the end, you know, it's the hot versus annoying scale, to quote Barney on How I Met Your Mother. And when a man evolves to a certain level, yes, looks are important and he wants to have connection and chemistry, but he wants vulnerability. He wants polarity. He wants to be challenged. He wants to know that he can make you happy.
Yes. Yes. That right there.
There you go.
And talk about attraction. That's what really, in my opinion, and you're the expert, so you tell me, that's a big part of attraction, that a man feels like he can win. He can make you happy, because if it feels like it's never going to happen, he's going to give up or even not even go up for the fight.
He's not going to go for the fight. And so if we use this client that I was talking to the other day, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So guess what? If you're critical about online dating, you're critical about this and you're critical about that, and you always need to be in control. The reason why a guy's going to like put on his Nikes and run the other way is because if he gets into a relationship with you, she's just going to start criticizing him.
Yeah, that's so true. So we talked a lot about women attracting men, and I know that's your expertise in your clientele. Talk a little bit about men attracting women. What can men do to be more attractive? Because I'm sure there are men sitting out there like, I sometimes feel like my wife doesn't. In fact, I got a question the other day and the man was saying he doesn't feel wanted, I think was the word. I can't remember if he said wanted or needed. But he was like, he doesn't feel that in his marriage. And he's wondering how he can create that in his marriage. And I think that's around attraction. What do you think?
Well, yeah. I mean, so first of all, so if you're dating and you're a guy, it's like literally so simple to stand out among the crowd. Number one, if your words and your actions match, you're like a snake. Literally, that's what it's come down to. Like, oh, I'll call you at 7, just call it 7. She's like, oh my God, he called at 7. I mean, it's amazing. And if you're in a relationship, I think it's about holding that space, right? Like what I was saying earlier. Because if you've got a wife who's really strong and independent, what she really wants is someone to like kind of call her on her shit and be like, I love you, but like you don't know everything.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And to say like I love it when my husband says, I feel disconnected from you. Can you put your phone down? I want some time.
Yeah.
Right? Like
And just
that.
go there. Like he just went there. He didn't like stonewall you and get defensive and then start getting snappy. He just told you exactly what it was.
Totally. And, he does that 50% of the time he says it and 50% of the time he gets angry. And then he goes like, oh, wait, I'm actually like sad and I feel disconnected and this is what I need. So I think for men to really create attraction, if you have a strong woman in your life, is to just hold that space, to not because men, here's what's amazing about men, especially because I have most of my clients attract these amazing men and they literally will do anything for this woman. Men want to make their woman happy.
Yes, they do.
They really do. And so, but this is the conundrum for a guy. If you start to allow yourself to get pushed around in the doing anything for your wife or your girlfriend, she's going to lose respect for you. She's going to like lose that attraction.
Yep.
And that's no bueno. So I think for men, I know that there's so many coaches that work with men. And it's really about like having men stand into their masculine while also being like emotionally present and emotionally available. And so I think if like I was going to go say like, this is what we need more of, is men really like standing in their masculine, because society and women, and we just like chop their balls off,
Yep. That's so true. Now I've heard you use the term man-volve. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that kind of what man-volve is?
Yeah, like I call it's manvolution, right?
Oh, manvolution.
And I think women go through it too. We evolve, right? So I think, there's men, they come most, not all, but they have to evolve. And so it's like maybe that they're a player, right? Or they just want to fill out of boobs, they want to conquer, they want to get experience, whatever it is. And then, sometimes they move up the scale and I call it quality casual. Right? Meaning like, they're not like just, hitting it everywhere. They're looking for connection and relationship, but those men often have other goals or priorities. They are working on their career, or they got divorced a year ago. And right now they're just trying to get their feet back and like be a good dad and like, balance this new life. So, they're a quality person, but they're not looking to really have a long-term relationship. And then I think some men go, I call it the crybaby, which is really like men who are doing like all this personal work. And like they're not emotionally available, but they're working on themselves.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So quality casual can evolve into like, well, why do I keep putting other things before connection? What's really, really going on? And so, and then ultimately they, I think, evolve into like a quality guy, which is, like what we've been talking about for women. I know who I am, I know what I want, and I'm
Yeah.
looking to make a connection and create true intimacy and partnership with someone. So men can man-volve or never man-volve. It doesn't matter what their age is.
Yeah, that's true. So you get all into this attraction, right? You're like, now I know how to attract, but then you start attracting everything. So you have to be clear then on how to like differentiate or sift
Yeah.
through all that you've attracted. Tell me about that.
Well, so here's the thing. I mean, like if we're talking about dating, it's about marketing, right? So you don't want to market to everyone. You want to market to your exact person. And I think
Ooh.
so many people are so in scarcity that they feel like they have to go out on a date with everyone. I was coaching someone on my podcast the other day, and she's a mom. She's got 3 kids, she's divorced, and she was totally not marketing herself properly. So she was getting all these men who saw her children as something that was an issue for her. And so she started to hide the fact that she was a mom, and her profile has nothing about being a mom or her value about being a mom or her value about family. So guess
Mm.
who she's marketing to? Everybody.
Yeah.
Keeps meeting guys that don't want a family, and
Mm.
reinforces it. So I was like, girl, you've got to dial in your marketing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you want
Yep.
to paint a picture of, so I asked her, what are your top 5 values? How can we incorporate those into not only if you're dating online, what your profile looks like, but what are you talking about on dates? How are you being evocative of your values around family instead of hiding it? You have to really know who you are and know what you want, and then target your marketing, because you don't want all the fish. You just want your fish, and you want him to get that right away.
Yeah, that's such a good point because I do think that people are casting these wide nets and just kind of going with what comes to them. And then if you end up running into an aggressive or very masculine man, you'll end up locked into a relationship before you even know it because they're just so aggressive and they know how to get what they want. And if they decide you're that because you've attracted them, then it's like, oh, how did I get here? And it's hard to backpedal out of that, which is where I find some of the couples that I see, that's kind of what happened. They just moved in, it just like evolved, and they never said, is this the person I really want? Or am I attracting what I really want? Am I who they really want? So,
Totally. Totally.
yeah.
And it's about being intentional. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, look, I got married when I was 22 to a guy I met when I was 19 because he asked. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, I didn't really put much thought into it. We had fun. He was there. He wanted to. One thing I really teach my clients is to be discerning without being picky.
Tell me about that.
Well, so you have these 5 core values, and I'm sure you see this in your clients all the time. The couples you work with, like, there's deal breakers, then there's wish list stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And like as long as those core values are met, you're gonna argue about like other shit.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You just
Mm-hmm.
are. I think I read, I can't remember what the number is now, maybe you know it, but like I think John Gottman did this study, and I think like 60 some percent of all couples issues are unresolvable. Meaning
Mm,
you're just gonna
yeah.
disagree,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
I mean, you
Yeah,
just are. So discerning but not picky. So then you want to be discerning about those core values,
absolutely.
right? And then you can't be picky about the wish list stuff.
Yeah. And that kind of, when it comes to couples like that are already together, that translates into me what I call preferences. It's like, why are you arguing about preferences?
Yep.
So, sure, you don't like when he squeezes the toothpaste from the middle. That is a preference, right? You don't like that he's not conscientious about cleaning. He may be a slob. That's a preference. But if that is for you a deal breaker, then you have to be clear on that. But you knew he was a slob when you married him. That's not new information. So you made a decision with that already in mind. So either let it go or, determine how you guys can help each other through that. But that's what it sounds like. I do talk with couples a lot about preferences. Like preferences are ruining marriages. And it's like, stop it, because it's just a preference. You can let it go. It's just that this is the way you would like it. And if you continue to argue or complain about it, it's not ever going to make, it's not like arguing, complaining has ever made anything better.
No, definitely not. I do this exercise with clients when I work with them live, and I have them think of a primary relationship and write down 10 expectations that they have of this person. And usually it's a romantic. And then I have them do this thing where they get to pick 3 of the 10. Right. And then that means you have to communicate them. So we do this whole thing, and like they're written on note cards, and they have a chair, and they have to like set each one down and rip it up. But they really have to come to a place in their soul where they're really willing to let go of that expectation, because really it's a preference.
Wow.
Right. It's not a deal breaker. And it's so powerful how that changes relationships.
I can see that. Sounds like working with you is getting down way deeper than I've ever heard any dating like coach or relationship coach go. Because that almost sounds like therapy right there.
Yeah, well, it is, because we're looking at, and Brene Brown said this, not me, right? But in order to have intimacy, you have to have vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And so most of us, and if we circle back to the conversation, vulnerability is scary as hell for men and women.
Yeah.
And our society is so throwaway, buffet dating, buffet relationship, have a bite, go get something else. But it's easy to never have to be vulnerable.
Mm.
And if you really want an amazing relationship, you have to be able to lean into vulnerability.
Wow. Yep.
So yeah, you got to do some deep shit.
Yeah. I have a saying that relationships aren't hard. Vulnerability is hard.
Yeah, 100%. And here's the thing. So it depends on where you are in your life cycle, right? But because I talk to women like in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and then occasionally I get this amazing opportunity to talk to someone in their 30s, and they have this illusion of time.
Mm.
Okay, I'm 52. Like, if I think back to when I was 30, I thought I had like time was, eternity. And so what I would say is like, if you could do this work now,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, don't wait for it to be a crisis. I heard Dr. Drew actually interviewed, I love Dax Shepard podcast. Have you heard it? Armchair Expert.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and he said, and they were talking about addicts and people with problems. And Dr. Drew was like, look, here's the truth. People don't get help unless they have a consequence.
Yep.
That's when you get help. Like I said, I have these 3 daughters that are young. And if I was going to like go around the world and talk to 20 and 30-year-olds, I'd be like, don't wait for there to be a damn consequence. Don't wait for your divorce. Yep. Don't wait to wake up at 45 and realize work didn't love you back. Don't wake up and be like, oh, wow, I was engaged 3 times, but I picked the wrong man. Don't wait for a consequence. Find out who you are and what you want and what your values are now. And if you do that, and that can be your foundation, oh my gosh, that's such a huge gift. If I could teach that to my kids, if I could leave that legacy behind for young people, I would just shout it from the mountaintops.
Yes. And that is where we will end, because that is so good. I just got chills. Yes. And I hope my daughter listens to this episode.
We love our daughters. How old's your daughter?
She's 27.
Yeah, right? They're like, they're just in the like, anyway. Yes, all daughters. Do what Kanae and Marni say.
Yes, absolutely. So I can't wait to come to LA, because we have definitely got to hang out. Or if you come to Atlanta, then we are getting together. We are doing this live.
Yes. Oh my God, that'd be so fun. I'm so down.
Yes. So people, listen all the way to the end for our 5-minute activation. But before we go to that, I want to ask you, Marni, what can people do to get connected to you? Because you have a webinar, right?
I do. So you can go to dwdapply.com.
Okay.
And I talk about what are the 5 shifts that you can make to change the course of your love life and your relationships. Because the solution is internal, as you and I have been talking about, not external. So I'm super excited about this training. It's been updated recently. It's super like modern for this year that we're in with all our crazy climate. So go check it out. It's dwdapply.com.
Awesome. And if for some reason you are driving and you can't remember that, you can go to the show notes. But also, if you don't feel like you're going to go to the show notes, just go to kanaecorder.com/dating. And that's going to take you straight to Marni's landing page so you can apply. And remember, that's kanaecorder.com/dating. Or if you think you can remember it, dwdapply.com.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. All right, people. We will see you next time. Thank you, Marni.
Wow, I love you, Kane.
Love you too. It's time for 5-minute activation, a quick financial therapy session to get you activated and on your way to increasing the love and money in your marriage. So can I get 5 minutes of your time? Just 5 minutes for a financial therapy activation. In today's 5-minute activation, I'd like to talk to you about the law of attraction and manifestation. Many times in my practice, when we get to this conversation on the law of attraction or manifestations, patients look at me a little strange. Sometimes it's the first time they've ever heard about it, and they feel like it's mystical or weird or confusing. This is what I do to demystify it, to simplify it. First of all, I tell them, you've experienced the law of attraction and manifestation before. You've practiced manifestation when you were a kid. You believed something so much that you could see it, imagine it, sense it, and nobody could tell you that it wasn't true. But eventually, you did believe them over your imagination. And you stopped imagining. You stopped manifesting. You did this when you were a kid. You know how you meet a kid that just knows they're going to be a firefighter when they grow up, and you can't buy them anything but firefighter stuff, and they ask you to refer to them as Firefighter Billy. And so before you know it, they're all grown up, and sure enough, they are a firefighter. Well, you can do that same thing. In fact, you've done it. You've just probably done it with things you don't want. We tend to put our focus on things we don't want. We maybe say, I don't want to be late. 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 And sure enough, what happens? You're late, because that's where your focus was. Shifting your focus to, I'll be on time. I'll be in time, as my good friend Tom Evans says. Then the universe will bend in your favor to see that that happens for you. Let me give you another example that may simplify it even more. Imagine that you have company, or maybe you have children, and they ask you for something to eat. They say, I'm hungry, can you make me something to eat? And you say to them, yes, I'll do that. You get up, you go towards the kitchen, you begin to prepare a meal. Now, as you know, preparing a meal takes time. You've got to maybe cut up vegetables or get all the things out of the refrigerator. Decide what vegetable, what meat takes time. Meanwhile, while you're doing all the preparation, the person who asked you for the meal just keeps saying, I'm really hungry. Can you feed me? I'm so hungry. Oh my gosh, I just want something to eat. Can I please have something to eat? And you're in the middle of preparing, and you're looking and you're saying, don't you see me preparing this food? Why are you still asking me for it? And you continue and continue. They continue and they continue to the point where you say, you know what? Just take this banana. Eat that. At least you'll have some food. And then maybe after they eat the banana, they say, you know what? I'm okay. I'm not hungry anymore. Does this sound at all familiar? Have you ever asked the universe, God, or source, whatever you call it, for something? And then you started to beg, please, please, please bring me more love, bring me more money, bring me more peace, bring me more happiness, please, please, please. And your source was creating it. It was preparing it. But you didn't give it time to fully prepare the meal it had for you that would have fed you and nourished you. So it just gave you a banana. And even though that's not what you really wanted, you accepted it and you just felt satisfied rather than fulfilled. Well, why don't you try waiting for the main course, for the full entree? The law of attraction takes time, takes patience, persistence, Manifestation takes vision, belief, faith. If you want to attract something to you, believe it, know it, like you know, the sun will rise in the morning. So you shall know the thing you want is on its way to you. When you believe it, you will see it. It takes patience, it takes time, and it takes love to manifest, to attract into your life that which is for your best and highest good. I share this with you today because I don't want you to just be satisfied. I'd love to see you fulfilled. What do you want? And that's our 5-minute activation for today. Hey guys, thanks for listening. If you want more love and money conversations, subscribe to this podcast. Also, tell your friends about us. I'll see you next episode. But in the meantime, head on over to KeneCorder.com for more tips, tools, and resources. And go ahead and leave us a comment if you like. We'd love to hear from you. This show is not to replace professional counsel. The best advice comes from a professional you know. The topics discussed in this podcast are general in nature and are for entertainment and informational purposes only. We encourage you to meet with a professional to discuss your specific situation, whether financial or therapeutic. That's all for now. I'll see you sooner. Remember, no matter what anybody ever tells you, you can have wealth in all of its forms. Believe it, and you will soon see it.